Hi, my name's Josephine Lang, and I'd like to talk to you today about nature's pharmacy, the hedgerow. And the hedgerow is something that sadly has slipped into the past, but there are still a few hedgerows remaining in England and Scotland and Ireland. And they were nature's pharmacy. They were where everybody could go to get the healing herbs that they needed, as well as a few foods if they also were hungry. So the hedgerows were pretty big. They were about 15 to 30 feet wide and then sometimes even miles long. And the farmers used to create them and plant them to help hold the animals into the certain pastures. And there would be gates and fences between hedgerows that would allow them to move the animals from one place to another. And they would hold the sheep and the goats and the cattle and whoever was in the pasture. And these wonderful hedgerows also supplied everybody who lived around the area, all of the villagers, with the medicinal plants that they needed. And the hedgerows were based on hawthornberry. And hawthorn is a wonderful tree, or a small tree, that is easy to propagate, meaning that it roots easily if you take a cutting and put it in the ground. And they would split the hawthorn down lengthwise with a sharp knife and then bend half of the hawthorn over and then plant another one and bend it over and plant another one and bend it over. And the hawthorn is called a hawthorn because it has a very long thorn, and that was part of why the animals would not pass through the hedgerow. And they also planted roses in amongst the hawthorns, and those roses had a lot of thorns. And the hawthorns and the roses really helped to serve as a good barrier to keep the animals in, and they were as well prime medicinal herbs. Hawthorn berry is known for its wonderful effect on the heart, balancing arrhythmia, lowering or raising blood pressure as is needed, and strengthening the heart and creating collateralization so that extra veins and arteries will grow to support the heart muscle instead of just the carotid artery alone. Not the carotid, the coronary artery alone. And then rose hips are one of those really rich in vitamin C foods. That's the little apple that is formed at the base of the rose after the rose petals have fallen away. It starts out green and then it turns to a beautiful bright orange. And rose hips are a beautiful tart loaded with vitamin C, and they can be used to help stop colds and flus and rebuild tissues in the body. Vitamin C is one of those things that we absolutely need to supplement our diet with. And rich in oranges and some of those foods that don't always grow in colder places. So rose hips are a great way to get our vitamin C. Then as well, there might be foods like peony herbs like peony root, or for building blood, or echinacea might be one that was grown in amongst the hawthorn and the roses. Garlic and onions, of course, could be grown in there, and lots of little animals would take up residence in there, the hedgehogs and rabbits and birds of all sorts, and of course bird nests and eggs, so people could get their food from the hedgerow as well. And it served as a natural wild highway for these animals to travel from one area to another area via the hedgerow by just walking under the hedgerows. And many other medicinal herbs would be grown in there as well. Feverfew for headaches, like I mentioned, echinacea for the root for preventing colds and building immunity. Some of the blood builders like beetroot is wonderful for building red blood cells, or yellow dock, same sort of a thing for helping to overcome anemia. All sorts of medicinal plants would be planted in these hedgerows. And so I just wanted to mention this because it's such a beautiful idea that we can create our own pharmacies in our communities by creating something that's maybe not a hedgerow, but something very similar, making wild plantings that can just take care of themselves and provide food and shelter for the animals, as well as food and medicine for us people. So thank you so very much for listening, and may your health thrive, and may you live a beautiful life full of health. And if you get a chance, check out my website, stepintomagic.com. Bye for now.